I am Reed, I am 27, just an average dude. IV made tons of money mistakes in my 20s, and now I want to share everything I've learned to help you take control of your finances and your life. So if you grew up in America like I did, you know the story by heart: go to college, get a stable job, buy a house, work for 40 years, retire at 65 with $1 million in your 401k, maybe start a family, get a two-story house with a white picket fence and a nice green lawn. That is the American dream. That is what our parents believed in. That is what every adult told us to chase. But let me ask you something. Does that dream make any sense in 2026? Because I've been looking at the numbers and the reality, and honestly, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for most people I know in their 20s, and I think it is time we have an honest conversation about why. So today I want to break down exactly what is happening in 2026, why the traditional American dream is more broken than ever, and what I am personally doing instead to build a life of freedom and long-term wealth on my own terms. Let me start with some real numbers because I want to be grounded in facts, not feelings. We are in June 2026 right now, and inflation this year hit 4.2%. That is the highest it has been since 2023. The cost of everything is still going up. Gas, groceries, rent, insurance. Meanwhile, real average hourly earnings actually decreased by 0.8% over the past year. So your paycheck is literally buying less than it did last year. That is not a feeling, that is data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Wages are growing at about 3.6%, but inflation is running hotter than that. You are losing purchasing power every single month. That is the reality of 2026, and it is hitting young people the hardest. Now let us talk about housing, because this is where the old dream really falls apart in 2026. The median home price in America is still hovering around $400,000 to $430,000 depending on which data you look at. That is not New York or San Francisco. That is the national median. And mortgage rates, they re-sitting at around 6.5% for a 30-year fixed. They were supposed to come down this year. Economists predicted 5.75%. That didn't happen. Rates have stayed stubbornly high, so let us do the math together. If you want to buy that median home at $420,000 with a 20% down payment, you need $84,000 cash just for the down payment. I am 27 years old. I don't know a single person my age who has $84,000 in the bank, not one. And even if you somehow scrape that together, your monthly mortgage payment, including taxes and insurance, is going to be somewhere around $2,800 to $300 a month. Maybe more depending on where you live. Meanwhile, the median rent in America is still around $1,600 to $1,800 a month. So you are paying $1,000 more every single month to own a house that might need a new roof in 5 years. And here is what nobody tells you. In 2026, buying a house does not automatically make you wealthier. It used to back in the 50s and 60s. Homes appreciated fast and interest rates were low, and construction costs were reasonable. But today, you are essentially betting that home prices will keep going up faster than inflation, faster than the stock market. And that is a risky bet. A lot of markets are already overvalued. A lot of people who bought at the peak in 2021 and 2022 are sitting on negative equity if they need to sell. Homeownership in 2026 is not the guaranteed path to wealth that it used to be. Now let us talk about the student loan situation, because this is absolutely insane in 2026. Americans owe $1.87 trillion in student loan debt as of the first quarter of this year. That number is still going up. And here's the thing that makes me angry. The payment pause ended, and people who thought they were safe are getting crushed. In the first quarter of 2026 alone, roughly 2.6 million federal student loan borrowers defaulted. That is not a typo. 2.6 million people in default in just 3 months. And experts are predicting that number could reach 13 million by the end of the year. 13 million people whose credit is destroyed. 13 million people facing wage garnishment and tax refund seizures. The SAVE plan that a lot of borrowers were counting on is being phased out starting July 2026. People are being forced onto different repayment plans with much higher monthly payments, so you have an entire generation that went to college because they were told it was the only path to success. They took on massive debt, they graduated into a tough job market, and now they re-drowning. And the system is not helping them. I was lucky. I worked full-time through college and paid off my loans as I went, but that was a sacrifice. That was working nights and weekends while my friends were out having fun, and I still only make $19 an hour with a degree in computer science. Last year, my tax return said I made $32,000. That is not what I was promised. I was promised a degree would open doors. I was promised I'd be making 6 figures by now. That promise was a lie for a lot of us. And let's keep going, because the job market in 2026 is a whole different beast. Tech layoffs have already passed 100,000 this year. Some reports say over 150,000. Meta laid off thousands of workers just a few weeks ago. Amazon, Cisco, Walmart. The list goes on, and what is driving these layoffs? Artificial intelligence companies are cutting jobs to fund AI investments. They are literally replacing workers with software. One report says AI-related layoffs account for about 17% of the roughly 300,000 total job cuts announced so far in 2026. 300,000 people have lost their jobs this year, and the message is clear. Job loyalty does not protect you. You can be a great employee, you can work overtime, you can hit every target, and still get an email on a Wednesday morning saying your position has been eliminated. That happened to people at Meta in Singapore at 4 a.m. local time. Emails went out in the middle of the night. That is the respect corporations have for their workers in 2026. Now, I am not anti-corporate. I work a corporate job and I like my company, but I have completely stopped believing that my job is my safety net. It is not. My safety net is my savings. My safety net is my side income. My safety net is my ability to adapt and learn new skills, not my loyalty to a company that would replace me in a week. So let me ask you, if the old dream is broken, what do? Do we just give up? Do we move back in with our parents and accept that we never own a home or retire? Number, I don't think that is the answer. I think we need to rewrite the dream entirely. The old dream traded your time and your freedom for a promise of stability, but that stability was an illusion. People spent 40 years grinding at jobs they hated just to enjoy a few good years at the end. And for a lot of people, those good years never came. They got sick, they got laid off at 58 with no savings, they got divorced, they died before they could retire. The old dream asked you to sacrifice your entire life for a future that might not even happen. And in 2026, that trade is worse than ever because the goalposts keep moving. The retirement age keeps going up. The cost of living keeps rising. The goal is a moving target. So here's what I believe the new dream should look like. I call it freedom over status, flexibility over ownership, alignment over approval. Let me break that down. Freedom over status. In 2026, I genuinely believe that freedom is more valuable than being perceived as successful. Who cares if you have a fancy title and a big house, if you are stressed all the time and you never see your family? But if you have a modest income and the freedom to spend your time how you want, you are richer than most millionaires I know. I would rather have control over my schedule than a corner office. I would rather be able to take a Tuesday afternoon off to go for a run than have a luxury car that I am making payments on. That is the trade I am making, flexibility over ownership. A lot of people my age are choosing to rent instead of buy. And honestly, in 2026, that makes more and more sense with home prices where they are and mortgage rates still over 6%. Renting and investing the difference is often a smarter financial move. Let's say you rent for $1,600 a month instead of paying $2,800 for a mortgage. That $1,200 difference every month invested into VU or a broad market ETF, earning an average of 8 to 10% over time. Over 10 years, you are looking at over $220,000, and you have the flexibility to move for a better job, to relocate to a cheaper city, to travel for a few months. You are not chained to a 30-year mortgage. That flexibility in 2026 is a superpower, and alignment over approval. This one is huge. Stop living your life for other people. Approval. Stop buying things you don't need to impress people you don't even like. Stop chasing a version of success that your parents or your friends or society defined for you. Define it for yourself. Maybe your dream is to work remotely from a small town and have a garden. Maybe your dream is to start a side business that lets you quit your 9 to 5 by the time you are 35. Maybe your dream is to save aggressively and retire early to travel the world. Whatever it is, make it yours. Don T just checked boxes that were handed to you. So how am I actually applying this in 2026? I want to be specific because I don't want this to be just motivational talk. I am 27. I make $19 an hour. Here's what I am doing. First, I am renting below my means and investing the difference. I found a place that costs less than what I could technically afford, and I put the extra money into low-cost ETFs, like VU. I also put a small amount into Bitcoin every month. Nothing crazy, just consistent. Second, I am building skills instead of collecting more debt. I already have my degree. I am not going back to school. I learn everything online. I've been studying SEO. I've been learning more about data analytics. I read books on investing and personal finance. All of that is free or cheap, and the return on that investment is massive. Third, I invest early and often, even though I don't make much. Some weeks I put in $50, some weeks it is 100. The amount doesn't matter as much as the habit. Consistency over time is how compounding works. Fourth, I am building side income. I run this channel. I am working on freelance projects. I want multiple income streams so that losing one doesn't destroy me. And fifth, I invest in my health and my mindset in 2026. With everything going on in the world, mental health is more important than ever. I run, I work out, I try to read more, I try to rest. Because wealth means nothing if you are burned out and anxious and can sleep at night. I see so many people my age running on empty. I don't want to be one of them. The old American dream, it worked for a generation. I respect that. It was built for an economy that no longer exists. And in 2026, clinging to that dream is making a lot of us feel like failures. But we not failures. The system changed, the rules changed, and we have to change with them. I am not saying give up on having a house or a family or a good career. I want all of those things eventually, but I am not going to sacrifice my 20s and my 30s chasing a version of success that was designed for a different time. I am going to redesign it for myself. I am going to slow stack my wealth. I am going to live intentionally, and I am going to play by rules that actually serve me. You can do the same. You don't have to follow a script that was written 70 years ago. You can write your own. So if this resonates with you, I would really appreciate a subscribe. We rebuilding something real here. It is not about overnight success. It is about long-term freedom. Thank you for watching. Leave a comment and let me know what your dream looks like in 2026. ILL. See you in the next one. Peace.